Silence is a source of great strength. Lao Tzu. Have you ever said something and immediately regretted it? Maybe it was an argument where you spoke out of anger. Maybe you revealed something you shouldn't have. Maybe you let your emotions dictate your words, and before you knew it, the damage was done. Words are powerful. They can build relationships, but they can also destroy them. They can inspire, but they can also hurt. They can bring people together or push them apart. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. We live in a world that encourages us to speak up, to voice our opinions, to defend ourselves at all costs. But here's the truth. Not every battle needs to be fought with words. Not every situation requires a response. And sometimes, knowing when to stay silent is the key to maintaining your peace, your power, and your control over life. Think about it. How many arguments could have been avoided if you had just paused? How many misunderstandings could have been prevented if you had just listened instead of reacting? How much energy have you wasted on unnecessary conflicts, trying to prove a point that didn't even matter in the long run? Silence is often mistaken for weakness. People think if you don't respond, you're giving up, that you're letting others win. But in reality, silence can be your greatest weapon. It can be a strategy, a way to protect yourself, a tool to maintain control over your emotions, your reputation, and your destiny. If you've ever felt exhausted from arguing, if you've ever regretted saying something you couldn't take back, if you've ever wished you could stay calm and unshaken, even in the middle of chaos, then this video is for you. Today, I'm going to share with you 9 crucial moments when staying silent will give you the upper hand in life. These are the moments when speaking out can do more harm than good, when your words can be turned against you, when silence can be the most powerful statement you make. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly when to speak and when to stay quiet, how to avoid unnecessary conflict, and how to use silence as a tool to command respect, maintain peace, and regain control over your life. Are you ready to unlock the power of silence? Let's begin. 9 situations when you should stay silent. Situation number 1, when you are angry. There was once a man who lost everything because of a single moment of anger. He had a stable job, a loving family, and a good reputation. But one day, at work, his boss criticized his performance in front of his colleagues. It wasn't just the words, it was the tone, the humiliation, the feeling of being disrespected. His blood boiled. Without thinking, he snapped. He shouted back, insulted his boss, and stormed out. That moment felt good. He felt powerful, like he had taken control. But the next morning, reality hit him hard. His job was gone, his reputation was damaged. And worse, he had no backup plan. All because of a few words spoken in anger. Anger is one of the most dangerous emotions because it hijacks your mind. It blinds you to the long-term consequences of your actions. In the heat of the moment, you feel justified. You feel like you have to defend yourself, to strike back, to prove a point. But what happens afterward? Regret. How many times have you said something in anger only to wish you could take it back? How many times has a single argument escalated into something much worse, just because you didn't hold back? Anger makes you reckless. It makes you say things you don't mean. And once words are spoken, you can't erase them. They stay. They leave scars. And sometimes they cause permanent damage to relationships, careers, and even your own self-respect. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, once said, "How much more harmful are the consequences of anger than the circumstances that aroused it?" Think about that. The thing that made you angry is temporary. But your reaction, that can change the course of your life. So what should you do when anger takes over? The answer is simple, but powerful. Pause. When you feel your blood boiling, when your heart races, when the words are about to spill out, stop. Breathe. Count to 5 before you say anything. In those 5 seconds, ask yourself, will this response make my situation better or worse? Will these words help me Or will they create more problems? Will I regret this later? That short pause gives your mind the chance to regain control. It stops anger from making decisions for you. Some of the most powerful people in history mastered this skill. They knew that the strongest response isn't always the loudest one. Sometimes, silence is the greatest show of strength. So next time you feel anger rising inside you, don't let it control you. Breathe, pause, stay silent. Because in that silence, you hold all the power. Situation number 2, when you are criticized unfairly. There was a young artist who poured his heart and soul into his work. After months of effort, he finally displayed his paintings at a public exhibition. At first, people admired them, but then a well-known critic walked in. With a smirk, he pointed at one of the pieces and said, "This is amateur work. The colors are unbalanced, the technique is flawed. Honestly, I don't see any real talent here." The room went silent. The artist felt his stomach drop. His face burned with embarrassment. He wanted to argue, to defend himself, to tell the critic that he had no idea how much effort had gone into this. But then, he remembered something his mentor once told him: not all criticism deserves a response. The strongest people don't waste their energy proving themselves to those who don't matter. So, instead of reacting, the artist simply nodded, smiled, and said nothing. The critic, expecting a heated reaction, seemed confused. The moment passed, and the crowd moved on. Later that night, another respected artist approached the young man and said, "I saw how you handled that. You have real composure. Ignore the noise. Keep creating. This is life. You will be criticized. You will be judged. Sometimes it will be fair. Other times it will be completely baseless. But how you respond to criticism determines whether it weakens you or makes you stronger." Most people react to criticism emotionally. They feel the need to explain, to argue, to fight back. But what does that accomplish? More stress, more negativity, more wasted energy. Unfair criticism is a test, not of your work, but of your self-control. When someone attacks you, your reputation, your decisions, or your abilities, remember this: silence is not weakness. It's control. People who criticize unfairly expect a reaction. They want to see you angry. They want to pull you into a pointless argument. They want you to lose your composure. But when you stay silent, you take their power away. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You always have the option of having no opinion. Things do not have to upset you." That's the secret. You don't have to engage. You don't have to defend yourself against every insult. You don't have to prove anything to those who have already made up their minds. So, the next time someone criticizes you unfairly, take a breath. Don't rush to respond. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Because in most cases, the best response is no response at all. Silence speaks louder than any argument. It shows confidence. It shows strength. It shows that you are in control, not them. And in the end, that's what true power looks like. Situation number 3, when you are unsure about the truth. A few years ago, in a small office, a rumor started spreading. Someone whispered that a certain employee, let's call him David, was about to be fired. No one knew where the rumor came from, but it spread like wildfire. Some said it was because of a mistake he made. Others claimed management never liked him. By the end of the day, nearly everyone believed it. One of David's colleagues, Emma, heard the rumor and, without thinking, told a few more people, adding her own speculation. "I heard he messed up a huge project. It makes sense that they're letting him go." By the next morning, David walked into the office and felt the stares. Conversations stopped as he passed by. His teammates treated him differently. Some with pity, others with distance. He had no idea why. Later that afternoon, the truth came out. David wasn't being fired. In fact, he had just been promoted. The rumor was completely false, but the damage had already been done. His relationships with co-workers were strained and trust was broken. all because of words spoken without certainty. How often does this happen in life? How many times do we hear something, assume it's true, and pass it on without thinking? A piece of gossip, a misleading headline, an accusation without evidence. We jump to conclusions before we even know the full story. Why? Because silence is uncomfortable. When we don't know the answer, we feel the need to fill the gap. We'd rather say something. Even if it's based on assumption, then admit we don't know. But here's the danger. Once words are spoken, they can't be taken back. How many reputations have been destroyed because of rumors? How many relationships have been ruined because of false assumptions? How many people have suffered simply because someone spoke without knowing the truth? There's a simple rule to avoid this. If you are not 100% sure, stay silent. Before repeating something, ask yourself, do I know this is true? Where is this information coming from? Will speaking about this add value, or will it create harm? Silence is not ignorance, it's wisdom. It's the discipline to wait, to observe, to verify before speaking. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, first learn the meaning of what you say, and then speak. The next time you hear a rumor, pause, resist the urge to comment, to speculate, to spread something you're unsure of. Because once words leave your mouth, you no longer control them. And in a world full of noise, the ability to stay silent until you know the truth is a rare and powerful skill. Situation number 4. When you are provoked into a pointless argument. A man once asked the great Buddha, "Teacher, I have been insulted. Should I defend myself?" Buddha simply smiled and replied, "If someone offers you a gift, but you refuse to accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man thought for a moment and said, "To the one who offered it." Buddha nodded. Then why accept insults, arguments, or anger that do not serve you? How many times have you been dragged into an argument that led nowhere? A conversation that started small but escalated into frustration, wasted time, and regret. It happens all the time. Someone says something offensive. Someone challenges your beliefs. Someone tries to prove you wrong. Not because they seek truth, but because they seek control. And in those moments, you feel the urge to respond, to defend yourself, to prove your point, to not let them have the last word. But what if you didn't? What if, instead of reacting, you simply let them talk? Most arguments aren't about truth, they're about ego. They're about one person trying to dominate the other. And the moment you engage, you give them what they want. Your attention, your energy, your peace of mind. Imagine this, you're walking down the street, and someone yells an insult at you from across the road. Do you stop, turn around, and start arguing with them? No, you keep walking, because their words have no real impact on your life, unless you choose to let them. The same rule applies in conversations. Not every disagreement deserves your energy. Not every insult requires a response. Not every opinion needs to be challenged. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You always have the option of having no opinion." And that's the secret. You don't have to engage. Before responding to a provocation, ask yourself, will this argument change anything? Am I arguing to seek truth, or just to be right? Will my silence frustrate them more than my words? The wisest people in history knew this. Silence is often the most powerful response. Because when you refuse to engage, you take away their power. You leave them arguing with themselves. You show that their words mean nothing to you. So the next time someone tries to bait you into a pointless argument, don't take the bait. Pause, breathe, stay silent. Because not every battle is worth fighting. And the strongest person in the room is often the one who doesn't feel the need to prove it. Situation number 5, when you do not fully understand the situation. A businessman was sitting in a crowded cafe when he overheard a conversation at the table next to him. Two colleagues were whispering about a deal that had gone wrong. One of them mentioned a name, James. The businessman's ears perked up. He had a friend named James who worked in the same industry. Could they be talking about him? He wondered. Without thinking, he pulled out his phone and texted James, "Hey, I just heard that you're in trouble with a deal. People are talking about it." James was shocked. "What? Who told you that?" Within an hour, rumors started spreading. Other people picked up the story, added their own details, and soon, James's reputation was under attack. But here's the problem. The conversation at the cafe wasn't even about him. It was about a completely different James in a different company, facing a completely unrelated issue. By the time the truth came out, the damage was already done. People had already formed their opinions. James had to spend weeks clearing up a misunderstanding that could have been avoided if one person had simply waited before speaking. How many times have you spoken too soon, only to realize later that you misunderstood? How many times have you jumped to conclusions, filled in the blanks, or assumed something based on incomplete information? It happens all the time. We hear part of a story, and our minds rush to connect the dots. But in that rush, we often create a picture that isn't real. Why? Because we hate uncertainty. Silence feels uncomfortable, so we fill it with words. Instead of waiting to understand, we react. Instead of asking, we assume, and more often than not, we get it wrong. But here's the truth: the less you speak, the more you understand. There's an old saying, listen twice as much as you speak. It's simple, but powerful. Because when you truly listen, you gain clarity. You see the full picture. You avoid unnecessary misunderstandings. The next time you find yourself in a situation where you're unsure, pause. Hold your words, ask questions, listen. Before you comment, ask yourself, do I have the full story? Is this based on facts or just assumptions? Would it be wiser to wait and understand more before speaking? Seneca, the great Stoic philosopher, once said, "Nothing is so deceptive as the appearance of truth." Just because something seems true in the moment doesn't mean it is. The greatest mistakes are often made in moments of certainty that later turn out to be wrong, so don't be quick to react. Listen more, speak less. Because sometimes, the smartest thing you can say is nothing at all. Situation number 6, when you want to build authority and respect. There was a king who ruled with wisdom and strength. His court was filled with advisors, all eager to impress him with their knowledge, their opinions, their words. Every time he held a meeting, voices filled the room. Everyone trying to speak louder, trying to prove their intelligence, trying to gain his favor. But the king, he said almost nothing. He sat, he listened, he observed. He let others talk, argue, and debate. And when everyone had exhausted themselves, when the room finally fell silent, only then would he speak. And when he did, his words carried more weight than anything that had been said before. He didn't have to raise his voice. He didn't have to dominate the conversation. His silence made him powerful. His restraint made him respected. And because he spoke only when necessary, people leaned in to listen. In life, we often assume that speaking more makes us more influential, that the louder we are, the more people will respect us. But the opposite is true. Think about the people you respect the most. Are they the ones who talk endlessly, filling every silence with words? Or are they the ones who choose their words carefully, who listen more than they speak, who make every sentence count? The more you talk, the more you reveal. The more you reveal, the easier it is for people to challenge, criticize, or dismiss you. But when you stay quiet, when you observe, when you choose your words wisely, you become unpredictable, and unpredictability is power. A person who speaks too much is often ignored. A person who speaks only when necessary commands attention. Before you speak, ask yourself, is this necessary? Will this add value, or am I just filling space? Will my silence make a stronger impact than my words? The most powerful leaders in history mastered this. They knew that people listen more to those who speak less. They knew that restraint is a form of control. And they knew that when you hold back your words, people lean in to hear them. Lao Tzu once said, "Those who know do not speak. Those who speak do not know. That's the secret." The strongest people don't feel the need to prove themselves with words. They prove themselves with presence, with action, with the way they carry themselves. So if you want to build power, speak less, listen more. Because true respect is not demanded, it's earned through silence, observation, and the wisdom to know when to speak and when to stay quiet. Situation number 7, when you are learning something new. A young apprentice once visited a great master, eager to learn the secrets of success. As soon as he arrived, he began talking about what he already knew, what he had read, what he believed to be true. The master listened patiently, nodding, saying nothing. After a while, the master brought out a teapot and began pouring tea into the apprentice's cup. The cup filled quickly, but the master kept pouring. Soon, the tea overflowed, spilling onto the table, then onto the floor. "Stop," the apprentice cried. "The cup is full, it can't hold any more." The master set down the teapot and smiled. "Exactly," he said. How can you learn if your mind is already full? Too often, we enter new situations eager to prove ourselves. Instead of listening, we interrupt. Instead of observing, we rush to speak. We assume we already understand, and in doing so, we miss what we could have learned. Speaking too soon is dangerous, not just because it can expose ignorance, but because it can block growth. When you're busy talking, you're not listening. And when you're not listening, you're not learning. Think about a time when you were in a room with people smarter or more experienced than you. Did you speak just to be heard, or did you take the opportunity to absorb their wisdom? Many people feel the need to contribute to every conversation, even when they have nothing valuable to add. They fear that staying silent makes them look uninformed, but in reality, the opposite is true. The wisest people in the room are usually the ones speaking the least. Silence is not a sign of ignorance, it's a sign of intelligence. It shows that you are processing, thinking, truly absorbing the information. It gives you time to understand before forming an opinion. And when you finally do speak, your words will carry more weight, because they are backed by knowledge, not impulse. The next time you find yourself in a learning situation, pause before you speak. Ask yourself, do I truly understand what's being said? Is my opinion adding value, or am I just trying to be heard? Would it be wiser to listen more before responding? The greatest minds in history, philosophers, leaders, innovators, all had one thing in common: they were learners before they were teachers. Socrates, one of the most brilliant thinkers of all time, famously said, "The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing." That's the secret. The more you learn, the more you realize how much you don't know. And the ones who learn the most are the ones who listen the longest. So the next time you're in the presence of wisdom, be silent, observe, absorb, because those who listen today will be the ones worth listening to tomorrow. Situation number 8, when you encounter a manipulator. A man once worked for a boss who always seemed friendly, always smiled, always acted like he cared, but something felt off. Whenever there was a mistake in the company, the boss had a way of twisting conversations, making others feel responsible, even when they had done nothing wrong. One day, during a meeting, the boss casually said, "I know you've been struggling with deadlines lately. Maybe you're feeling overwhelmed. Maybe you need to step back from bigger projects." The man was caught off guard. He wasn't struggling with deadlines. He wasn't overwhelmed. But the way his boss framed it made him second-guess himself. Wait, do others see me this way? So he defended himself. He explained why his work was fine, why his deadlines were met. He gave details, trying to prove he was capable. And as he spoke, his boss just nodded, listening carefully. By the end of the meeting, the man felt drained, uneasy. Something wasn't right, and then it hit him. He had just been manipulated. His boss wasn't asking questions to understand. He was asking to extract information, to make the man doubt himself, to make him react. And by reacting, the man had given his boss exactly what he wanted. More words to twist, more information to use against him later. This is how manipulators work. They don't attack directly, they plant seeds of doubt. They frame their words to make you over-explain, to make you emotional, to make you reveal things you never planned to say. And the more you talk, the more power they have over you. So how do you beat a manipulator? Silence. When they provoke, don't react. When they question your abilities, don't rush to defend yourself. When they try to bait you into an argument, stay calm and controlled. Before you respond, ask yourself, why are they asking this? Are they really seeking the truth, or are they looking for a way to control the narrative? Will my words help me, or will they give them ammunition? Silence makes manipulators uncomfortable. They expect you to engage, to get defensive, to play their game. But when you stay silent, when you give them nothing to work with, you take their power away. Sun Tzu, the ancient strategist, once said, "Never interrupt your enemy when he is making a mistake." Let the manipulator talk. Let them reveal themselves. Let them expose their own intentions. And when the time comes, when they've said too much, when they expect you to fall into their trap, say nothing, because in a game of manipulation, the one who speaks the least holds the most control. Situation number 9. When silence is more powerful than words. A young warrior once stood before his master, frustrated. "Why don't you ever respond when people insult you?" he asked. "Why do you let them say whatever they want?" The master smiled, because not every battle is worth fighting. The warrior didn't understand. To him, words were weapons. He believed that if someone disrespected him, he had to fight back, had to prove them wrong. One day, while traveling through a village, they encountered a man who mocked the master. He hurled insults, trying to provoke a reaction. The warrior clenched his fists, ready to strike, but the master simply walked past, silent. Later, the warrior couldn't hold back his frustration. "Why didn't you say anything? Why didn't you put him in his place?" The master turned to him and asked, "If someone offers you a gift, but you refuse to accept it, who does the gift belong to?" The warrior thought for a moment. "To the one who offered it," the master nodded. "Then why should I accept his words? His insults are his burden, not mine." Silence is often mistaken for weakness. People assume that if you don't respond, you're afraid, that you have nothing to say, that you're giving up. But in reality, silence is a weapon, it's a statement. It's a way of saying, "Your words do not control me, I do not owe you my energy." How many times have you regretted saying something in anger? How many times have you spoken just to fill the silence, only to wish you had kept quiet? Words have power, but so does silence, and in many situations, silence says more than any argument ever could. When someone insults you, silence says, "Your words don't affect me." When someone expects a reaction, silence says, "I am in control." When someone spreads rumors, silence says, "I don't need to defend myself." Before you speak, ask yourself, will my words change anything? Will they solve the problem, or will they only add fuel to the fire? Would silence be a stronger response? Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, once said, "Silence is a lesson learned through life's many sufferings." It takes strength to stay silent when provoked. It takes wisdom to know when words are unnecessary. And it takes power to let silence speak for you. The next time you're tempted to react, take a breath. Hold back, observe, let silence do the talking. Because sometimes, the loudest response is no response at all. We've explored 9 powerful moments when silence is not just an option, but a weapon. A tool for control, wisdom, and strength. Now, let's take a step back and reflect on everything we've learned. When you're angry, silence protects you from saying things you'll regret. Instead of letting emotions control you, take a breath, step back, and regain your composure before you speak. Because words spoken in anger often cause damage that cannot be undone. When someone unfairly criticizes you, silence takes away their power. The moment you engage, you give them control. But when you choose not to respond, you show confidence. You show that their words don't define you. When you don't know the full story, silence saves you from embarrassment. Speaking too soon, spreading misinformation, or making assumptions can lead to unnecessary conflict. The smartest move: wait, listen, verify, only then decide if words are necessary. When you're being provoked into a pointless argument, silence keeps your energy intact. Not every fight is worth fighting. Some people argue just to get a reaction. When you refuse to engage, you win. Because you refuse to let them control your emotions. When you don't fully understand a situation, silence helps you gain clarity. Listening more and speaking less allows you to process information and respond with wisdom instead of reacting impulsively. A moment of silence is often all you need to make better decisions. When you want to build power and respect, silence makes people listen. The more you talk, the less people value your words. But when you speak only when necessary, your words carry weight. Those who master silence command attention without even trying. When you're learning something new, silence is your greatest tool. Many people talk just to prove they know something. But the ones who truly grow are those who listen, absorb, and reflect before speaking. Knowledge comes to those who are patient enough to receive it. When you face a manipulator, silence is your shield. They want you to react, to give them something they can twist against you. But when you stay silent, you refuse to play their game. And in that silence, you maintain control. And when silence is more powerful than words, you let your actions speak for you. Some situations don't need an explanation. Some words don't deserve a response. And sometimes, the strongest thing you can say is nothing at all. 9 moments, 9 ways silence can change your life. Now, ask yourself, are you willing to use this power? Because silence isn't just the absence of words. It's a presence of control, of discipline, of wisdom. It's the art of knowing when words add value and when they take it away. It's the skill of resisting the impulse to speak when silence speaks louder. The next time you're in a situation where your first instinct is to react, pause, observe, ask yourself, will my words serve me, or will my silence be stronger? Master this, and you will have something most people never will. Control over yourself, your emotions, and your energy. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced a moment where silence was the best response? Share your thoughts in the comments. Tell me about a time when holding back your words saved you from regret, or when staying silent made you feel more powerful. If this video resonated with you, if you found value in the lessons we discussed, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future content like this. Your support helps us continue creating meaningful conversations, exploring wisdom, and sharing insights that can truly transform the way we think and live. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And most importantly, thank you for embracing the power of silence. Until next time, stay strong, stay wise, and remember, not every battle needs words. Sometimes, the greatest strength is in saying nothing at all.